home doesn't but 30312
So 30312,
is daycare home.
We call
no,
it,
it's daycare center. Oh.
No, it's just.
No, it's
11%.
11 is
And they say the
center.
same thing, basically.
12%.
Yeah, so if you were checking the requirements, you would just look, if I was doing, I would look at 30312 and not think to go over to home occupation low impact, where it actually says that you need like self-lashing gates and safe areas and things like that.
Yeah, so really in 30316, D all needs.
D needs to be moved to 30312.
So D123, all of D.
Yes, all of D
Okay.
needs to go to 30312,
312.
yes.
Okay. The next one I have is on page 33, but do we have anything before that?
On page 25, the decibel levels, have those been set finally, or is that just sort of a,
If, on page 34, actually.
okay, is that where it is?
I put in sample noise, but
Okay,
that's
okay.
something we need to talk about. But yeah, I didn't find any noise
No, there aren't any.
regulations in the code, so I pulled, and these are from, again, just what we were working on recently. Union and North Strabane have the same exact levels, and I believe Hopewell does as well.
Okay.
So I pulled that, but if you guys, we can change that accordingly, but, so.
I think if you look at any shop code or anything like that, that's where you
Yeah.
don't suggest.
What page are we on now?
Anything
So
above
on
60
33, we'll get the noise next, but on page
Or-
33, the only change is E, normal agricultural operations. If we remember, it started, but then it looked like she deleted it or put in there, she had a note to add that in. And so what we put in there was normal agricultural operations, as defined in the Pennsylvania Right to Farm Act, those shall be exempt from compliance with public nuisance regulations. Then moving on to 34, that's where we added the noise regulations, and that's referenced throughout, specifically the oil and gas, but it might be referenced in other sections as well, that stating, depending on what zone you're in, you have different noise levels you have to comply with. So, under this, I put for agriculture in the village at 60 decibel, and the mixed use at 65. Again, those are examples, those can be changed if someone thinks that's too low, too high.
I don't know.
What's there?
How would you ever enforce it?
Officer would have to buy it.
I'm sorry,
You'd have to
people
go to the
talking.
meter,
You
yeah.
can't hear it.
He wanted to know how you would enforce that, or how you would know.
The only way you can enforce that is if you actually take the machine out and you put it on somebody and you measure those decibel levels for an 8-hour period. That's the only way you
I
can tell.
understand that. How do we know, you're looking for input from the board, is 60 too low, too high, so they know what 60 is? What the hell is 60? How does that work?
I've heard concerts.
What
are
it
like
takes for
90.
Darren to hear you.
Yeah.
Actually, our church is about, church on a weekend is usually anywhere between, 75, it goes up to 75. So you have
That's
people
what I said.
singing that's 75. I mean, a tractor is definitely gonna be more than.
It depends on where the noise comes from and how repetitive the noise is. Like I'm a sheet metal mechanic by trade, and I have bad hearing in my right ear. It's because of pounding on steel for 42 years. So I have to wear, the requirement was for me to wear double hearing protection, earplugs, earmuffs, to do any kind of work.
So what decibel is that at?
The shop decibel is about standing about 65. That's to where you have to step in and start wearing hearing protection.
I just pulled
Wait,
something up.
just,
Wait.
hold on. Tammy has a meter right here. While you were talking, it exceeded 60. While I'm talking, it exceeds 70. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
But again, it's measured by how long you're exposed to that, noise.
Well, I bet a tractor pulling a hay bind and a round baler is gonna make a whole lot more than
But
60
that's
decibels.
exempt.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
exempt.
farm
But again, it depends on what
regulations are exempt.
decibel. whether it's a high range or a low range,
Well,
how it's gonna affect you.
But is somebody gonna know that it's a matter of that many hours before they complain? Like, that's, you know what I mean? I know that, you know that, but is somebody else gonna call in all these complaints and say, they're running,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Is that kind of written in here, or is it just something that we should all know? I'm just asking.
Yeah, because you just hit 76 while you were talking.
Sorry, I told you, church singing.
Use your
isn't-
inside voice.
Mike, wouldn't the security act, the ag security act
Under farming, they would, yeah,
cover,
that's,
cover the farming?
the farming would be
noise.
exempt from that.
Yeah, but we're talking.
D has all the exempt ones, yeah.
Yeah, and I have a question about B, if are we there yet, or we?
I mean,
This is where it says, the following uses or activities shall be exempted from the noise regulations. 1, noises emanating from construction or maintenance activities between 7 AM and 9 PM. So does that mean like 24/7, well, not 20, obviously, 7 to 9, 7 days a week? You could do construction work on a construction site and between those hours and not, you have no decibel limits you have to stay below.
yes.
Yeah, I had that with the pipeline out my bedroom window for the whole summer last summer.
So,
9 o'clock's late. I'm old. Let's change that.
that, yeah,
I work 2 shifts, let's do that.
so, I mean, and you can have different ones for Monday through Friday, and you can, you know, townships have that. This is just this is a starting point to give you something to think about, so.
And they also started way before 7 because they had headlights on their bulldozers. They were
And
up
so
there
if
at
they, but,
5:30.
okay, so if they came through as part of that and they had to get a permit, they would have to get a waiver for that because they wouldn't be able to
So it
comply
doesn't
with
matter
that.
what the size anyway.
I think the numbers are acceptable as they are.
Yeah, I mean,
Read.
like B, she's saying mixed use. At no point on or beyond the boundary of any lot within these districts shall the exterior noise level resulting from any use or activity located on such lot exceed a maximum of 65 decibels.
Well, you can't
So,
talk.
in other words, you
'Cause you're-
couldn't carry on a conversation. You couldn't,
That's at the lot line.
Right, you gotta move in.
so if you're, so you can't talk to your neighbor across the lot line. I mean,
They don't complain
I
on
can
it.
hear my neighbor
They don't
across the
turn
street
them in.
anyway.
I mean, nobody's allowed to mow grass.
it just seems pretty
Yeah, those levels are,
restrictive and excessive, those
65 is too low.
those decibel levels, just
Yeah,
when we're
a lot
carrying on a
of 90,
conversation or
90.
exceed that, so,
Which one are they?
yeah, nobody be able to mow their grass or,
Does this include voices? And I don't mean it like us, but I have heard in town that there are some people that take on having screaming matches. So the question is, would that,
That's a noise, I would.
Would
if
that-
I was a
would that
zoning-
count as in-
If I was a code enforcement officer.
that was what you would consider a noise, any sort of noise? Oh, no, they do.
what about barking dogs,
No, they're adults.
mowing grass? I mean,
Like for fun or?
Oh, no, it's not for fun.
Oh, no.
Oh, I thought you meant like a competition.
It's a competition, but nobody's winning.
So do you guys wanna bump up the levels?
it definitely ought to be reasonable. I mean,
a lawnmower's 90.
basically, if it's an old folks home, they wouldn't be able to hear you.
A lawnmower's 90, I mean, you kinda gotta,
And everybody has a motor Well, I grass. think, honestly, I think
There's
what
other
they wanna do is
ordinances
prevent
that
some
apply.
type of industry from encroaching noise onto their neighbors.
I
Yeah, we're
understand.
talking about different
But the problem, that's the whole
decibels,
problem.
a lawnmower 90, if you put that lawnmower in here, it's gonna be 100.
Right.
You know, so
It's
we're
about
talking
that,
outside. So I don't think it's gonna be a matter. I mean, talking in here, if you talk the same outside, it's not gonna be as loud.
Understandable, but
But this states any activity, so I mean, you know, like I said, if you're outside mowing, you can't be over 60, because it's saying at any point, you know, that it says any use or activity, so that's pretty restrictive.
Well, that's in here,
It'd be fine for
yeah, that's in here.
Fireworks.
it. Yeah.
But, Bob, what,
They're all
the point
over.
is, like, when Kathy, yeah, when Tammy turned that meter on,
We turn on-
Lee talking from clear across the room at a normal tone
Public
exceeded 60. exceeded 65. Her talking, and she's like a mouse, exceeded 76. Kathy probably would have gone off the scale, but, you know what I mean?
That's right.
So, I mean, it's gotta be a reasonable,
The only thing you're
If we're
looking
gonna
at.
step outside and talk at the same level, it's not gonna register that high.
At the lot line would be.
Okay.
I guess,
There shouldn't be a lake.
the other thing to consider is that these are for these uses. Mowing your grass is not a use that comes under this. That would be a nuisance, the noise, that would be a separate. These noises are for those businesses, those uses that are being approved here cannot exceed that level. That's not talking about, cutting your grass is not a use that's being considered by this section by zoning. That's not a use that you have to get approval for. This is for these uses that have to come through, like a daycare center, that, again, if they are gonna be in the village district, they cannot be above a 60-degree or 60 decibel reading from the boundary line. That's what I think you need to consider. Is that gonna be is that still too low though? Because something's
Kids out playing, screaming.
outside playing.
60 is a standard. Then you erect a noise fence.
Yeah, these again, we're not, I just took these, that's just a starting point, but they're not uncommon, those levels is all I'm saying. But again, I don't measure noises, I don't do that for a living, so I
You know what
can't
I
say.
mean?
any vehicle, commercial, whatever, with a backup beeper is gonna exceed this.
Yeah.
Construction, school
My
bus,
concern is more the,
you know,
like I said, the ongoing
agricultural,
construction site.
tractor.
Exceeding 60 decibels for 12 hours a day. That's the ones that are, really. But you just said they just give a variance or permit or whatever. So that's, you can't do anything about it anyhow.
You can come and ask to take no.
Oh,
After 10 o'clock.
yeah. I'm sure I could stop that
I'm
paper.
just-
Motorcycles.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can try and regulate.
You'll do it after 10. No, it's only exempt.
I understand, yeah. I mean-
Where are we at with this? We need to move on.
Change that.
What do we wanna do with this?
That's what we're trying to do, and we're saying that those decimal levels are unreasonable.
Well, what do you think a
for
reasonable,
Anything,
how do you know what to set it at?
We
you
should
know,
have the
that's our
ideology
point.
here.
But we
I
know
think
that
the
that's
times
not.
the times for public stuff should be later. Just because of the fair and different things, because I'm just, Eric here,
For down at D
on
3,
recreational uses.
7 AM to 10 PM,
Yeah, that should be later.
okay, what?
Sometimes the bears over.
When the fair's going on.
Okay, so here's my
Somebody
question.
moves in every first complaint, and then we don't need to have. to,
No, okay,
because
here's.
Now we have rules.
Do you want to just put in there an exemption for them as opposed to giving everyone till midnight? Any public, I guess that's a question.
Community event.
But what's public recreation? Is there a definition?
Yeah, any community event should be.
Is it any public event, or do you know?
No, I don't. I mean,
Okay.
we could define what
We,
would fall under that.
we might need to, maybe that would be an easier way to,
Maybe that's another good one to look at surrounding.
This is a surrounding.
Okay.
How about this? My neighbor's an audiologist. I can ask him his opinion on it.
I think you need something, because if you're gonna have somebody moving in, do their neighbors need to hear their generators running or their motors running?
Or a stereo
No,
system?
but I just, you know, 60 permit, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a good example. What if we lose power and the backup generator?
OSHA,
It's called a conditional use, it has nothing to do with this. Just blow you the water up there, fella.
OSHA
It's
says
very muddy, we're trying to clear it up.
for an 8 hour.
Need fire.
You know what I mean? So 90 is what OSHA has.
Blanket 90?
There's a few different things. It's on the OSHA website. So could we look at that maybe? I mean, since they're the ones that govern a lot of businesses, you know what I mean?
Number of people working.
Right, that's what I mean. So, you know, can we go to OSHA, but, I mean,
Yeah, but that would only apply to like commercial or
Yeah.
industrial sites. It wouldn't apply to.
What was that?
Just because your buddy can handle 90 decibels doesn't mean I want to hear it next to my house, you
what?
know?
Well, if you have an adult establishment next door, it probably exceeds 90 decibels too.
A refrigerator is 65 decibels.
There you go.
And we also have to consider Do you wanna have different timing depending on the day, like weekends, you might wanna have a little later, but maybe not necessarily during the weekdays? That's something to consider. That might, some do Monday through Thursday, and then they treat Friday, or Sunday through Thursday, and they treat Friday and Saturday, some do Monday
Hey,
through
Chief.
Friday. So that's something.
That exemption would sound better coming from you than it would be from me. Tell me we need to make any public event exempt, period, no time.
Alrighty,
What if it's raining and we gotta hold off? Then done, okay. Make no time.
38. So under the re-entry drilling, again, that's where we're just clarifying the public notice aspect of it. In the event a supplemental hearing is not required, so if we review it, it's not a substantial change.
Can't hold that no more.
The operator, the applicant will have to attend a public hearing with the county and discuss the operations. That's what we're discussing. So even though it's under conditional use, it might not have to go through the full process, but they're gonna have to come and give a presentation and let everyone know what the time frame is, what the schedule is, what they're doing. Kind of, my understanding is what Range was planning on doing next week. Now, whether or not they have to come back and get the permit, the driveway permit, that's a different issue, but that's kind of the idea of how next week Range will come, and they don't need to get conditional use approval because it's already in the works, but they're coming back in and putting on notice, this is what we're gonna be doing, this is the time frame, these are roads we're gonna be using, so that's kind of where that would fall under for re-entry drilling.
Okay, hold on, back to page 36
No,
for
I'm
a
saying,
minute.
yeah, no,
Page 36 for a second.
okay.
Under outdoor storage, it says see also township code of ordinances.
Yeah.
So we might,
Is there an outdoor storage in the township code?
No, I don't think so.
now, I think there is
Oh.
under nuisances, I believe. But I didn't bring my book.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you just eliminate this because you have to comply, these are nuisance, these are under the nuisance code, that's not.
Well, that's fine with me, I just
Yeah.
was pointing out that we might need to.
Yeah, I don't think that.
You guys fault. Oh, yeah. You guys is fault for one damn thing. How about that?
We're better off doing it right the first time. I mean, actually the second time, maybe the third.
Okay, and then, if no one has anything, I'm on 39 for buffer yards. Again, that was where there was a formula reference, and then there was no formula. The highlighted part is what Carolyn sent to me, as far as the formula that was supposed to be put in there.
Michael, in that, so you're at 502.12?
Yes,
Okay, well, you're gonna have to change that too, because it says non-residential district, and you don't have that anymore, right?
A, he's talking about A.
Yeah, there's no non-residential district.
okay, so we're gonna change that to mixed use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there it is.
So I guess.
That's a lot of
So
trees.
my only thought is
Not a
that,
tree truck.
would you want it to be, in the case where a lot, or a non-residential use in the mixed-use district, Because if you have someone, a single-family home is allowed in the mixed-use district, you want someone that wants to build a house to go through these. You know, the idea behind the buffer yard is that if you have completely different types of districts, you want to kind of provide a little bit of a buffer, a setback, so.
So you would like say a lot in the mixed use being used for commercial purposes?
I think,
Something,
yeah,
yeah,
something to that
adding something
extent.
commercial so
Yeah,
that.
because someone that's doing just that would be similar to the village or similar to an agricultural, you don't want to have them plant all those.
Yeah, because that's a lot of trees,
Create that
he's right,
buffer.
that's a lot of trees.
Does that make sense? So only for commercial related commercial or industrial related activities in the districts would have to apply to that.
Call him that.
If you have better, like, yeah, you want to. That's what she said.
Or I guess they called it on the next page, they just called it non-residential related development. So maybe that's even easier.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, it might be even easier than,
That's what we just changed it from.
no, it said non-residential district.
Yeah,
Oh, district.
District, yeah, yeah,
and so, yeah.
yeah.
And then on B down there, the safety devices, I did finally hear back from them. They said that the most recent International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, which is currently the 2015 edition, they said just to reference the most recent.
Yeah.
And so as it updates, so that'll be put in there.
So just put current.
Correct.
Well, current would be the most recent, wouldn't it?
You know what the hell's the difference? Why didn't you say anything?
Less ink, less paper, less waste.
Because it's JV.
Simplifies
Page
it.
41, signs. We added the political part up there on page 42.
Did we check into that for the federal law?
So she needs to go right.
What about like hunting regulation sign, no trespassing? That'd be also,
I guess I would take that as a
It don't matter.
How big are they?
indication.
I can't see Bob. and I
Michael,
can't
is
see
this the
Lou.
one that you were gonna check on about
Yeah,
with
I
the,
mean,
with the
law
federal?
that one of the more recent cases stated that you can't regulate specific to content.
It's Kathy. Kathy is a-
Which makes it difficult.
And she moves to the right,
And
then I
talking to
won't see
few
Craig.
different people, it makes, so again, when we talk about,
I'll stay right here.
you know, the law is saying that you can't, it has to be uniform. So you can't say, you could put these type if it's this type of sign, if it's talking about this, but you can't put these type of signs, because that's content-based. So the law came down that it can't be a content-based regulation. So,
Do we just need to read through this one again, just to make sure?
yes.
Okay. So you said it can't be
You
content.
can't it cannot be content-based regulations. So you can have regulations, but they can't be broken down by content. Yeah, so if you say you can't have signs within the, I don't know, just, if you can't say you can't have signs, it just has to say you can't have signs. You can't say you can have political ones, but you can't have, you know, that's what you can't do. So you can regulate it, but it's gotta be uniform across the board.
like if somebody would put the 10 Commandments on a,
Yeah, you can't say you're not allowed to put that there.
yeah.
Or, yeah, or the other side of the spectrum. If it meets whatever diameters, wherever placement within the setbacks, it doesn't block the sight lines. If you allow signs to be placed of that nature, it doesn't matter what it says.
Because it talks about direction, so I don't know what that. I have to read through that later, I think.
Probably should have measured that before I started drilling that hole.
Page 56.
Over to sport. 36-inch hole. That's deep. Rock doesn't look big. See if I get through that rock. I don't know, that's a drawing. I don't even think
So, yeah, on your page 56, that's where I was referencing, if you go all the way back to where these types of uses are gonna be required to also take the extra step and file a conditional use application related to oil and gas development and related operations. That's where this definition will apply, so that you know if it's one of those listed activities, you will have to go through the conditional use application for oil and gas. And then if you wanna look at the update of the protected structure, I know there's some comments on what would fall into that, if we wanna amend that further. As it reads now, a protected structure is any residential subdivision plan consisting of 5 or more houses in any hospital, school, cemetery, religious institution, public park, public playground, or other public building. I think the one question was regarding the subdivision plan consisting of 5 or more houses. When we were talking about the setbacks previously, one of the questions was, well, there's a, you know, what if there's a house within 1,000 feet? We're stating that that wouldn't rise to the level of protected structure. It would have to be a group of homes that would be within, you know, 5 or more would trigger that, the setback for a protected structure. With home occupation, low impact, I think that was one of the ones that we flagged. Did we want to separate those? We were talking about that previously.
No comment?
I think that's it. That's all I have.
It's done good.
It is recording.
Okay.
That's all for.
Let's go back to the agenda. Here's the agenda. Amendment number 4, what are we gonna worry about this time?
I mean, it's up to you guys, but I don't think you have a motion to be made right now. I think you tabled it. There's a few minor changes that we talked about. The main things are just gonna be the review of those 4 and comparing that. I don't think there's much left to do with the actual zoning ordinance itself. I have a few notes, I'll make those, I'll get those out quickly so that everyone has plenty of time to look at that. The main thing will be getting examples of the mobile homes, the junkyards, the adult uses, and telecommunications, I guess, if you want examples, we can pull one of those, but it looks like there's an example, pretty lengthy one in there. I think you just wanna compare that with what you have on the books, and whether or not you wanna just eliminate the one that's on the books completely, or if there's a section or two in that one that you just wanna put in to what's proposed in here. So the main three things we'll be looking at: junkyards, adult uses, and mobile homes for next month's meeting, and I'll get samples, and if anyone else has samples that they recommend, we wanna get
Canton's is
out.
7 pages long, I just looked it up.
What's that?
Canton's mobile home, well, it's only 7 pages long.
Okay, yeah, so.
I briefly read it, it's pretty decent, I mean.
So, we'll get a few of those examples out, and we'll ask Tammy that she puts those on the board as well, so that the public can take a look at that, and we'll just work
That won't be bad.
on those.
So it's safe to say that anybody has any other changes, to email those directly to you, Mike?
Yeah, and we can incorporate that in. What I plan on doing is getting the changes based on this out by the end of the week, so that Tammy has time to put it up there, so everyone has almost a full month to look at it, and getting these items, we'll get these to you as soon as possible as well, and as you have questions and comments, start noting them down so that,
Well, we need to send them to you, so.
yeah, exactly, because if you have a question about certain things you want it looked up, you can definitely look that up in the meantime, so that when we get here, we can say, yeah, Lee emailed me, had a question about this section in the Amwell one, we looked it up, and we can go on from that.
Couple other administrative things. Guys, I'm trying to, the agenda, I'm trying to write it in a way that it becomes minutes, that it makes it easier to consolidate the minutes. If you guys have any changes that you'd like to see us do in the agenda, email that to me so I can do it. And I'll try it this time, for the third or fourth time to get a signing machine on it.
Lee, I have a question.
Lee?
I think that's about it. Tammy?
I know that it was previously talked about that the agenda was going to go online a week prior to. Is that gonna happen?
No.
Because that was a
The
motion?
reason why, that, just like, here's Mike, come in today with a change, it's a minor change, but even trying to get this put together, there was stuff coming in left, I approached this about 4 or 5 different times. And just changes need to be made right for the very last minute. If somebody wants to get on the agenda, all you gotta do is let Tammy know, that
Well, I didn't know
you want
because-
Tammy and what you'd like to talk about, and that's fine. As long as that's
Because the
something that-
motion was made